Hey, this is Sam Levine. You're listening to the dumbest motherfuckers on the internet right here at Glory Hole Radio.
Welcome to the Hole.
Welcome to Hole, bitches. I am Rob Sprance.
I am Chris Fortney.
I'm Lori Levine.
All right, and we are joined by returning to the Hole, Shuli Egar. What's up, brother?
I'm Shuli Egar.
Like 6 minutes.
I was ready to go.
You get the special, yeah, but you get the special. You get the special intro. So this is this is the second time Shuli's on the show, and I wanted to share some beautiful words that he gave to me last time he was on. He came up, he did the show. The next day, I texted him and I said, "Thank you so much, Shuli. I really appreciate it. It was a good time." And he wrote back, "No problem. This concludes our social interactions." was his response to me.
I thought it was going to be, who is this and how did you get this number? But that one's good too.
No, that was a good one. That was a good send-off. So it's been a while. I see you're definitely getting that beard going.
Yeah, I've turned full Orthodox during the quarantine. I keep kosher now. I looked at it like a license to kind of let yourself go a little bit, you know. I keep I do a number one usually at the barber up top. Keep this a little somewhat thick, and now it's experiment time. Let's see what we can get going on top. Let's see what's going to happen here. This is a good time.
But it's funny because you're like, this is a time to let myself go, but you're on TV all the time. Like, it's not really.
Yeah, but look who I'm with. I mean, you know.
I guess that's true. It's a good point. It makes sense. So I mean, how are you dealing with this shit right now? Are you and you have a kid, right? You have two or one?
I got two. I got two girls. Got a wife. We're dealing with it the best we can. It's tough, man. It's tough for everybody. Luckily, thank God, still employed. But I can't imagine, for people out there being out of a job and having to homeschool. Oof,
yeah. So you're doing the homeschool stuff too.
Yeah, we were doing the homeschooling before the pandemic hit, just because where we were at, the schools were such shit.
Oh, so you always do homeschool?
Yeah, so now it's like everybody complaining. It's like, welcome to the team, fucker. What took you so long?
So how do you? I always wondered this with homeschooling. Like the one thing I always thought that school taught you was to prepare you for assholes and to prepare you for responsibility. And both of those too, and like how to socially interact with people, especially assholes.
Well, Shuli's his dad, so there's the asshole parts.
Yeah, not to mention you live in New York. I mean, you want to talk about interacting with assholes on a daily basis.
Pretty much all
walk
it is.
Out your door.
I know, it's a good point. So how many hours do you spend with the kids, like in any given day? Like to do that?
It varies depending on if they get behind, which they sometimes do, because look, you're asking for a kid to concentrate at home, right? With all, how many distractions there are for kids at home.
Yeah. Adults working at home know that now.
Right. Exactly. So really what you're doing is you're taking a situation that should be a road playoff game and you're not going on the road.
Right.
it's not the same feel of the game for the Packers coming in to play at San Francisco in San Francisco. You know what I mean?
That makes sense. But
it's hard. But I mean, it's all, you have to figure it out. The hard part is we're not teachers. You get an appreciation for what a difficult job that is. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, you got to figure out. It's like comedy. Every crowd's different. You gotta figure out why you hate them.
Yeah. Well, speaking of comedy, you're booking a show. You're like no one. I know a lot of comedians, but someone like you who started just basically interning, and now you're a comic in your own right, and you were building up a following, and you were you weren't considered the group from that show. You were just you. And then this shit happens, like, Leah Bonema, who's a comic, is on our show all the time, and she had the same, no matter how much momentum you build, now all of a sudden, you're in this position where it's just the rug gets pulled out from under you.
Yeah, it levels the playing field for the most part. I mean, we're all starting from square one. Everybody that I know that's done a show has said the same thing, how nervous they were going into it, how, unsure of themselves they were, how they don't remember the jokes,
Right.
how much writing is everybody doing during this thing. It's not easy it should be, worked on, but it's not easy to stick to the process when there's a stick plugged right into that wheel that's been spinning for years and
Right.
years, and now your whole process has changed. Everything's upended. So but you remember that feel of those open mics of having a good night at an open mic, and you're like, holy shit, those 3 bits work now. Like kind of like exciting again to be nervous again and to be unsure of yourself,
Yeah, I guess that's true. You get that initial rush that you didn't have, from doing it so much, especially when you do it high and drunk like Shuli, where
Yeah, I was just flexing my professional muscle. That's
So-
all I was doing there. Is I was showing people my double album. I took the same set and I did it back to back shows. I just recorded both shows back to back, and the first one was completely sober, and the second one was drunk and stoned. And I ran the same material back to back as best as I could, and you really have 2 completely different albums of the same joke.
what do you like better out of the two? What do you prefer?
I like, I can tell you sales wise, people like the Wasted show. That's outselling the sober show 3-1.
Well, how much of it do you think is curiosity? Because if I'm you put the 2 in front of me, you say which one do you want? I'm picking the drunk show every fucking time.
Probably, but I tell you where I got the idea. I've been a big Stevie Ray Vaughan fan for many years.
Oh yeah, he's amazing.
Years ago, when I was living in Vegas, I remember I was at a Tower Records. Remember those kids?
Yeah.
And I was going through, at that time, the VHS, the videos that they had for sale of concerts, and they had a double VHS cassette of Stevie Ray Vaughan, 2 live shows, and I looked on the years, and one year was he did it before he got sober, and then the next show he did it after he got sober. And I looked at the set list, and I see he's playing Little Wing on both shows, and I'm going, wonder which one he does better Little Wing version on, the one where he's on heroin or the one where he's not. and I bought it and I watched it and it was interesting, and I walked away liking the fucked up one more. I thought he just gave more of himself into that. And the Wasted version it's definitely much more laid back. It's much more conversational. I fuck with a guy throughout the whole album in the audience, which the sober one is funny, but it's just very polished. It's like I was nervous about the album, but about the sober one, not the Wasted.
Yeah, I was gonna say, do you think that maybe part of it is because when you're drunk, you already know it's a drunk, so you don't give a fuck as much. Like you're not taking it seriously as you would your regular set, Or
Well, I tell you,
go ahead.
for me, I'm not a big drinker, so that for me was different and kind of pushing the edge for me a little bit as far as remembering jokes. Going up stoned is no big deal. I've been doing that, for 20 years. So that kind of is a necessity. That's normal.
Right.
But the drunk part and I didn't have a lot. It was weird. Both my dealers, I have 2 dealers. So guess who's got a problem? Both of them weren't available that day, so I didn't have a ton with me. So I drank a lot more than I normally would.
Oh, to compensate.
Yeah, and at one point on the album, I look at him and I honestly go, I don't know what I've told you and what I haven't at this point. So if I repeat a joke, I'm recording this shit. I'm paying money. So can you just laugh like you didn't
All
hear
over
before?
again. Did you repeat any?
I don't think so, but I definitely did some new bits towards the end of the Wasted show that weren't even supposed to be on the album.
But like ones you worked on, or you just started winging it at that point?
I've been working on a set for after the album comes out, because everybody thinks they're Louis and they all have to throw away their hour afterwards. And meanwhile, I've been limping on those crutches for the last 3 years.
So what's this show going to be now? Like, what are the rules? What are the guidelines for COVID? Like, is it
For his August show.
or you're just going to
Yeah.
do it in Florida where everybody just wants to kill themselves?
It's so funny. I had offers from Arizona and Florida that I respectfully declined right before everything started spiking. So, and no, it's an outdoor venue. It's an outdoor amphitheater, number one. So the people are going to be socially. It's like they're sitting on a lawn basically, and they're going to be socially distanced. And the comedy's on an outdoor stage. I get my own mic. I pull up to the stage in my car. I get out, take my mask off, tell dick jokes for an hour, get back in my car, drive off.
That's great.
And
man.
Sounds great.
And I think for pictures, what I'll do is I'll just tell everybody, get your phones out. I'll stand on stage. I'll put my arm out like I'm hugging you, and you take the picture, and then just throw yourself in later.
That's a great idea.
That's
That's true. Yeah, because you always did the meet and greet afterwards, right?
Yeah. And I love meet and greets. I love meeting the Stern fans because I am a Stern fan at the end of the day, and I know how that show helps people get through shitty jobs because I've had plenty of them, and that show was essential for me as a lifeline. So I love talking to the fans and shooting the shit, but I love my family more, and I'd like to stick around for them. So,
yeah, really. I mean, because you and I both are pretty much pre-existing conditions to begin with, so and the slightest bit doesn't help our cause.
Yeah. Well, last time I flew, right before this thing really took off, I was coming back from a gig, and the woman next to me had like the rain slickers they give you on a tour bus out here when it's raining, and she had a shower cap on, and she had a mask on, and she's Purelling the armrest between us, looking at me, giving me this dirty look, and, like, how could I not be masked up? And I just looked at her and I went, I roomed with Beetlejuice for 2 years. So
you can live with it.
I'm fine. Don't worry about me.
Yeah, your immunity is at a whole different level on the right. Yeah, you were like, didn't you hold high pitch shit at one point in a bag?
I mean, listen, we all started somehow, Rob. I don't know, where you just shot out of your mom's vagina and onto a show. I don't think so.
That's what happened, yeah. Feels like it.
Stepping stones.
Right, I know. Yeah, but that's gotta be fucking weird. Like, I'm curious to see how that goes.
It's wild because I got buddies who are doing this car show out here near me in Queens, and it's like, I don't think I could do an outdoor show where people are in their car, because I'm telling you, I get honked at. It's fucking, you're going to be on the expressway with me on the hood, smashing your windshield.
But it's true.
Yeah, Michael Che is promoting that. He's doing stand-up in front of everybody in their car.
Yeah, no, dude, listen, here's the one plus about somebody honking at you now is now you're going to heckle me. I'm going to get your license plate, and then I'm going to find your home address, dude. And I'm going to come and I'm going to heckle your entire family, okay? So if you want to take it to that level, we'll do it.
So if only there was a dirty cop that could run a plate number for him.
Yeah, we got a guy.
My God.
We got a guy.
I have so many friends. You don't even know. I got fucking cards up the ass.
Oh, yeah, the cops will probably come up to you and give you PBA cards and stuff.
Oh, yeah. They're good pals, man.
Yeah, that's good. But yeah, so... Do they tell people they can't honk, or is the honking like the laughter equivalent? Like, how does that work?
I mean, yeah, right. Like, how do you decipher if that's a good honk or a bad honk? And how do you police it? Like, what, is somebody going to pop out of your glove box? Be like,
Some guy fucking dies on the horn.
That was a one honk joke. Stop.
It's 2 honk minimum. Hey, that's 3 right there. Cut it off. Cut them off.
The drunk show, I got honked at a lot more, so I'm going to do them from now on. But you did mention the honking right away. Do you know if that's a rule? Like, like the person that pitched it to you? Like, what was the pitch? Like, how did they try to sell that would even work?
Well, first of all, let me just say the show's been doing really well. They've been there's been a lot of cars turning out, and they seem to be happy. There's a lot of wiper fluid in the parking lot when they're done. That's a good sign. And there's a lot of good comics that are doing it. And listen, I think it's a great test, but it's like, so's climbing Mount Everest.
Yeah.
I'm not fucking signing up for that.
So do you wind up doing, I guess can you even hear them laughing? I mean, I guess.
I'm used to, after doing radio this long, I'm used to not hearing anyone laughing.
I guess that's true, but not on a stage.
Not on stage, right. Yeah, that would be weird.
That's got to be weird. Did you do any of these, a lot of people doing these internet versions of the show? Are you doing that at all or no?
I have an idea for something that involves like pictures and stuff throughout my years working with the Whack Pack and maybe doing like a slideshow and telling some stories, but I don't necessarily know how stand-up would translate into that. So we'll see.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Like I see a lot of people do these Zoom stand-up shows where there's like 50 people in the Zoom. I will tell you this: Sam Morrill did something interesting. I saw a video he put. You saw it? He took.
Yeah, he's so ahead of the game. He's so brilliant, and if anybody could pull this off, it's Sam.
Yeah,
I love him.
I know he's great. And what he did was he took all of the people on Zoom, and they're all like all their mics are on. And he blew it up behind him, and he's standing with the mic, so he's doing stand-up, and you hear the laughs, and you see the people laughing, and that was the smartest thing I've ever seen, like, how to pull that off. It just looked, while it didn't look like stand-up, it looked like kind of you could buy into it. Because most of the ones you see, there's like 70 screens, and they're one of the 70, so it's, like, hard to tell what's going on. So you haven't done any of those type?
No, I this is as many screens as I've seen so far in my comedy career.
Just 4, yeah. Usually,
Career.
Well, last time you were on, you accused me of being a Jew. You said that my nose was Jew.
Thank you for backing up my accusation
so
with evidence.
I try. That's why I'm on the. That's why I'm on the camera. I want to make sure.
Can you give me a profile? Can you turn like somebody's calling you?
Which way you want?
No, like your kid just fell down. There you
I
go.
don't have a kid.
There you go. All right.
Like your cat just fell down.
You don't have a kid?
No.
No. All right.
Just
well,
two
I see
cats.
from the profile why.
I wouldn't want to share this with the world.
Right. You have to have sex to have a kid.
Yeah.
Right.
I homeschool my cat.
Wait, Shuli, last time you were on, you were writing, I think you already wrote the screenplay for the airplane, the Pushers, I think it was called, right?
Yes. Pushers is a show that I wrote about my career as a wheelchair pusher at the Las Vegas airport, which is an industry that a lot of people may be not familiar with. But you are called to gates to pick up passengers who have requested wheelchairs, which I would say 90 to 95% of the passengers are not handicapped.
Right. Just fucking lazy and fat.
Yeah, just all fat, pieces of shit. To the point where they make special wheelchairs for how big these people are now. They're like Cadillac Escalades. They're huge.
So what would happen? Like you just would have to just take them to like the car, like just to wheel them, so they didn't have to walk through the airport.
Well, first of all, a couple things would happen. Number one, they would walk off the plane just fine. That's number one.
Right.
Then they'd sit down, and then you have to push 400 to 500 pounds of flesh up a jetway ramp. Okay. And then when you get out and you have to wait 30 seconds before you could speak because you're completely out of breath and energy, as you're pushing them through McCarran Airport to baggage claim on carpet, mind you.
God.
For those of you not familiar with pushing fat people in wheelchairs on carpet, take a bicycle to the beach and ride in the sand for a little bit. Take a few pedals. And then on the way to baggage claim, while you're covered in sweat, they very nicely go, "Could you swing by the Burger King on the way to baggage claim?"
Of course they do.
And then when you get their nuggets and their bags and you send them off, they tip you 50 cents for being a human engine. So,
Were you wearing a suit?
no, well, not really. We had a vest over a white T-shirt, I had a red vest. I was like management.
Oh, you at a new level.
Yeah, well, I ruled by being your friend. People didn't fear me. People loved me, and they loved working under me. Sorry for my cat. That's meowing in the
That's
background.
fine.
He's kneading right now. So there, what? Oh, now he shuts up. Now he's getting shy.
Yeah,
Stop ruining my interview, asshole.
So you would get like, do you get any people who are nasty? Because I bet you get some nasty ones too.
I picked up. I tell you, the biggest tip I ever got was $300.
It's not bad.
From a drunk. Well, it was a drunk Australian guy, and he had missed his first flight to L.A. to connect to his flight to Australia. So he begged me to just monitor him for 3 hours and to make sure he didn't miss this next flight or he didn't get arrested. And that's what I did for 3 hours. I watched him, and he tipped me $300.
It was Russell
cool.
Crowe.
Yeah, right. At one point, I was just reading a magazine at the the store there in the airport, and the Herald News, and he's in the wheelchair, and I just see him trying to pocket Mentos, and I just go and he put them right back like a kid. He put them back. I picked up a couple celebrities. I picked up BB King one night.
That's cool.
Pushed him.
Yeah, I pushed him.
I pushed him, and he had the guitar on his lap. He just has it.
So, are you serious? Like,
yeah. Yeah, he gave me $100. He was good.
I would want a picture of that. You pushing BB King with his guitar in a wheelchair. Like that's.
I didn't want a picture of me pushing anybody. I don't want that memory ever of having that job.
So you get the job. Do you apply for a job at the airport and you don't know where they assign you, and that's the gig you got, or is it like a coveted one? Like I can't wait. I'm going to work hard. I'm going to get the wheelchair gig.
Here's the key with that job is you had to get in good with the dispatcher, because the dispatcher was the one that was getting all the information, and he was sending the units to go get the calls. So if you just kiss a little ass with the dispatcher, go out, buy him a beer after work or something. That's it. All the big calls. Oh, they call you Hawaiian Airlines. Pat Morita's coming in. Karate Kid, Mr. Miyagi. They go, who are we going to give? Oh, you know what? Shuli's a comic.
And he's light.
And Shuli. Boom. Yeah. And so, and that for me as a comic at that time was great because I had a captive audience when you were in my chair. I could try out material on you the whole walk to the plane, and there was nothing you could do about it. You were buckled in.
Yeah.
You were mine. That's it.
Maybe.
So,
the last time I flew, I thought of you because I saw someone have to push someone into the restroom. Have you ever done that?
Oh, good question.
No, there's only so far my services go, man. I'm not in the medical field, and I'm not making that kind of money. There was a case once where one of my passengers had an accident, and they looked at me at TSA, and they were like, what are you going to do about this? And I went, what are you going to do about this? He said, well, I'm not going to clean that. I said, well, we're on the same page, buddy. I'm not cleaning that shit either.
What are you going to do about that?
Yeah.
Imagine being that title. Like, you got to have somebody.
I tell you, I had a guy that I took. He had to be over 500 pounds. And at that time in the AB gates in Vegas, there was like this incline, like 45-degree incline for about 3 feet. And there's no way to get around it. And I'm looking at this guy, and he knew. At the time, I weighed 140 pounds with my keys and cell phone. I was not. And he's just and he goes, do you want me to get up and walk? And I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, if you would have done that, we could have avoided this whole fucking situation. But I said, no, I have a job to do. I got you. And I told the TSA guy, I go, I'm gonna take a running start. I said, but if you hear a squeal like a young girl and you see me standing on the back of that chair, that means we didn't make it all the way up, and we're coming back fast. Right?
Get out of the way.
Just heads up on that.
So how did you made it up the ramp?
Oh yeah, made it up the ramp. Couldn't talk for 2.5 minutes. I had nothing in my body after that.
Did you really do a running start?
I had to. You can't. You're on carpet. You're on carpet, dude. I can't express. Yeah, I can't express. Might as well be Shag at that point. Like I can't express enough how difficult it is to put a fridge on a dolly and move it on carpet.
Oh God.
Why did Mr. Miyagi need your help? He's in good shape.
He was old though.
He had a little too much waxing on and off. He got off that flight. And I knew Pat Morita did stand-up, so I was excited to pick him up. I was going to pick his brain because I met a few stand-ups in the airport as well. And I said to him, I go, we're on the tram coming back from the gates, and I said to him, Mr. Marita, I said, are you still doing stand-up? And he looks at me and he goes, you picked me up in a fucking wheelchair. I can't even stand up. What are you talking about?
That's a great fucking line.
Yeah.
He's been sitting on that joke for so long.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It's great. Another guy, Dom Irera, was the first. I was waiting for somebody.
I remember him.
Yeah, he didn't ask for a chair. I was waiting to pick somebody else up, and he was the first guy off the flight. And I've been a Dom Irera fan for years, and I see him, I'm dressed in my vest and my slacks, and I go, Dom Irera, I'm a comic. And he looks at me and he goes, of course you are. And he just walks off.
That's great. Yeah, that's a tough gig. The only thing like even remotely close to that I had to do is I counseled at a camp for handicapped adults for 2 weeks. And I
lasted 2 weeks?
Well, it was a 2-week camp.
Bravo.
It was hard to get back, by the way. But the first day, so like the first day or two, it's just the counselors hanging out. And I'm like, this is fucking awesome, you know? Got everybody we're drinking, we're having a good time. And then that bus rolled up, man, and fucking life changed quick. There was it was one. Do you know Brian Sclero?
Yeah, I know Brian.
Yeah, so Brian was also a counselor at the camp with me. So he was on one of the episodes, and we told all of the stories. But they assigned me to one guy who you mentioned, the guy who's going to clean my shit. This guy, he pulls his pants down and he hands me his hemorrhoid cream and he goes, my cream, put my cream on. And I'm like, I'm not putting your cream on, buddy. I'm sorry. This is like the first day. And that I was like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this for fucking 2 weeks. But
listen, God bless people who can do that, man. I lost a job at Olive Garden for not cleaning up vomit in the bathroom. So you think I'm putting hemorrhoid cream on?
No, I wasn't looking
at mine.
From what, in retrospect, like nobody would put it on. Like, it's not like it was, I was obligated to, like he knew how to do it, but he was just trying to get people to do it. But there, that was a tough one. And then
I like that you had to reiterate, nobody. It wasn't like, hey, get Jerry.
I'm not the only asshole who wouldn't do it.
Job.
I'm like, oh wait, I really gotta help these people. I was like, come on, man, that sucks. And then there was one. There was one when I first got there. I met this guy, and he goes, there was a little lake that you had to go across, and I got there late the next day, and he's like, hey, how you doing? I met the guy, and he's giving me the ropes and telling me how to handle all of the campers, So he's like, we can take a paddle boat across, and I said, okay, cool. So we're going there. He's telling me, so listen, don't be intimidated. They're going to ask you to do things you don't want to do, and he's giving me the whole lay of the land. I'm like, thanks so much, I appreciate it. And 10 minutes later, that guy was getting wrestled down. He was one of the campers, and he was screaming, and they were holding him. And I was like, I was in a paddle boat with that guy. Now he's trying to stab somebody with a fucking fork. Like, he could have just thrown me out of the boat.
Yeah. It sucks seeing your heroes just completely disappoint you. You're like, this guy gave me some advice. He must know everything.
He must know everything. I thought he
was. My first time ever going to an open mic was in L.A. at Sunset, at the Laugh Factory on Sunset Boulevard. You have to camp out all day to get on this list to go perform at this open mic. And I'd never done stand-up before. I watched him my whole life. I was a huge fan. I'm sitting around all these guys, and they're all like, did you hear Dave Attell got blown off the stage last night by his opener and the host?
Yeah,
he sucks.
Yeah, okay.
And then they're like, Chris Rock doesn't even write his own stuff anymore. And every person that I thought was funny, these guys are like, this one sucks. This one's got writers. And I'm sitting here and I'm going, wow, these guys really know the business. I go, I thought I knew what was funny. I'm like, these guys really know their stuff. And then I watched them one by one just eat the biggest shit sandwich on stage and just die the most miserable day. And I'm like, oh, these guys don't know anything. I'm not taking any advice from these guys.
Yeah.
Remember one guy, I go, how long you been doing this? He goes, 12 years. I'm like, 12 years at a mic? I was doing it one day. I knew that was not good.
Yeah, an open mic too. Like 12 years and you're still doing open mics is not good.
No,
it's not. Hey, so Chris, did you ever there's a lot of, Chris was in a band and I was in a band, and I was very much like that, where I didn't want to talk to the other bands, like I don't want to associate with them, and it was always like we're better than these guys. I don't want to, they suck and all of this stuff. Did you ever have that, Chris? Like when you did shows?
I did one of those same type open mics where people had to camp out outside, and we stayed outside the club for a couple hours waiting for the doors to open, and right when the doors opened up, there was a bum rush for the door. Like people who weren't waiting in line just fucking rammed through the door as fast as they could, and for us waiting 3 hours in line, then when it show started at 7:30 or 8 o'clock. We didn't go on until like after midnight or something like that. And by that time we were hammered and we played terrible, and we recorded it too. So I have a live recording of it because that was like part of the deal. You could pay an extra $10, you get your set recorded, and we were just trashed, absolutely trashed. And after doing that one time, we're like, this is a big fucking waste of time, and we're not going to do this ever again. Yeah. Why waste your time standing on the sidewalk to get in for something like that?
Yeah. Well, I started in Vegas, and there was like 2 open mics when I started, and both the people hosting it never put anybody up. If there was a crowd, they would just stay up there and take all the fucking time. And as soon as people would start leaving, that's when they'd start bringing people up.
That's a dick move.
Me and a few buddies just started opening up open mics at different bars locally in Vegas, and created somewhat of a scene out there for people who wanted to do this and felt the need for it and the urge. It's great. Vegas is like living in a cartoon, right? Like you imagine, like it's 3 a.m. and you're like, want to go indoor skydiving? And there's a place open, right? Like it's living in a fantasy land. Yeah. And you try to build a local comedy show there with all the options people have. It's like, it's where comedy goes to die. Yet we found such venues that we would have 8 people one night, 12 the next night, 14, but that was it. That's as far as it got. We had 30 people. We're like, what the fuck's going on? It just sold out.
Big night. Yeah, but still, like that's it's probably way harder to work a room with 10 people than it is to work a room with 500 people, because
especially in Vegas, in a place where a lot of these shows were at bars. So these people are sitting at a bar losing their mortgage on a poker machine, and you're starting a free comedy show at the time that this guy's life is falling apart. So good luck with having material to compete with gambling addiction.
Yeah,
because
right.
I lived in Vegas for 13 years. I went and saw George Carlin at the Stardust and watched people walk out on one of the most brilliant comics of all time.
Wow.
Because they couldn't wait to get back into the casino. You understand? So you're basically dealing with an uphill battle from the second you touch the mic.
Yet every single casino books comics. Like every
Well, listen, it's different. Look, when even the name guys there, they're papering 30 to 40 to 50% of the room. They have to. That's a tangible offer that the casino has for their players. Yeah. Oh, you want to go see X, Y, and Z? They're playing here. And it's the same with bands. But the comics making the same money regardless. But I can tell you that Carlin used to open with the most foul stuff right out the gate to walk all the comps right out the room, because when you're invested zero amount of dollars into this show, you are going to just judge it from the second you walk in, right? You're going to be full of opinions on it. But if you pay $150 to go see Sebastian Maniscalco, who's brilliant, you're going to be laughing your fucking ass off just because you paid $150, right, number one.
You're going to really hope that you laugh. That's a good point.
That's right. So, if you can make 14 people laugh in a room that holds 80 for free, then the rest is easy, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Because it was.
And you did Mohegan Sun, right? A couple of times? Have you been up there?
Yes. Mohegan Sun I've done, absolutely.
Same vibe as Vegas?
All casinos are the same. They really are. The once you've played one, you've played them all.
Yeah, I mean,
I went to a show at Mohegan when I was there one night, and I'm pretty sure it was included in like our hotel package or something like that.
Yeah.
To the early show, right? So we went, we got some food, we got drinks, we went, and God, there were like 6 people in the room, and me and my wife being 2 of them, and there was one guy who was just relentlessly heckling the comic, and just, I don't remember who the comic was, but he just gave up about halfway through. And like at one point it's like, why the fuck am I even up here? Like, really? Are you kidding me with this right now? And just sort of gave up on it. But his jokes were really funny, and he was really good when he was telling those jokes. Eventually the heckler left and he finished his set like just fully defeated, out of gas, and walked over to the bar and got a drink. And so we went over and like told him like, hey man, like, sorry you got a raw deal here, but like your jokes are good, stick with it. And he had to do the later show, so I figured I'd pump him up a little bit, like try to give him some sort of confidence. But
Yeah.
Some random guy told me stick with it after I've been doing it for 30 years.
But I mean, you know what I mean. Like I probably
know.
didn't tell him to stick with it, but just
I
to
know.
kind of support him a little bit. Like dude was dying a slow, painful death up there, but we were laughing. And
There was a gig in Vegas, not the open mics that I ran, but there was a comic who basically gave me my start stage time wise. Sandy Hackett. He was Buddy Hackett's son.
Yeah, I've heard of Sandy.
And so Sandy had this room, this little comedy room in the Greek Isles Hotel and Casino. And the Greek Isles is a hotel that they've tried to blow up and demolish for 25 years. And it somehow has stood the test of time in Vegas. And Sandy got them to build him a little comedy club in there, like an 80, 90-seater comedy club. And he was generous enough to let me work out there and figure out how to do stand-up. And one of the guys that basically featured, I would host, and this guy that featured for Sandy was a guy by the name of Fats Johnson. Now, Fats was a guy who used to be in a folk group back in the 70s and 60s called the New Christie Minstrels.
Oh, boy.
And they won an Oscar for the song Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. Now, I know all this because this was in Fats's opening statement every single night on stage. He did the same act every night, 25 minutes to the T. Regular jokes and guitar songs, right?
Mm.
Now, when I tell you this guy was one of the most bitter, angry human beings I've ever met, there was no such thing as a good crowd. He yelled at every single crowd. He was completely lost touch with the times. He didn't know proper vernacular when on stage, when he'd do racist stuff. And he would just do the craziest. Oh, hello. Hi.
Good night, Daddy.
Oh, you're the best. I love you. Have a great night's sleep. They always come down when I'm in the middle of a racist bit. Anyway.
But they come down every night, though, don't they?
Yeah. So he would do the same thing every time. He would walk in. I would start the show by introducing myself off stage. I would pinch my nose and go, "Good evening and welcome to the Greek Isles Hotel and Casino." And I do the whole intro and I go, "Please welcome your host, Shuli." And I'd come out and I'd go, "Give it up for our sound guy back there." Literally a joke for me. That's what an idiot I was. And then I would do 15 minutes. And every time I would start to do the 15 minutes, I would hear the side door shut because that meant Fats left and went to go gamble for 15 minutes. He'd give a shit about what I was doing, right? So one night, my buddy who worked there with me, Potter, he says to me, "You should do all his non-guitar jokes when he's gone."
Oh, my God.
So that way
great.
he starts in a giant hole and he loses this crowd and just starts yelling at him. And I'm like, this is a brilliant idea.
Oh, that's great.
So I go out there, I say hello, I hear the door shut, and as soon as the door shuts, I just start doing his bits. Yes, my love. Good night. I love you, kiddo. What? You can say hi real quick.
Good
Go
night.
Hello.
All right, get out of here. I can't believe you cursed on the air. I love you. Good night. That wasn't my kid. I just met her on the internet. Anyways. So I do basically 15 minutes, 12 minutes of his 15 minutes because he had a few songs. And I literally end on one of my bits when I hear the door open up and I introduce Fats and me and my buddy Potter, we sit backstage and we watch this guy completely lose his mind from the minute the first joke fails. He goes, what did a little yellow bus break down outside? Right? And he starts call him retard. Right again. And then at one point he calls an Asian guy a Chinaman. Like he went completely nuts. He's telling a fat guy to call him after the show, to talk to him after the show because he's gonna die if he doesn't lose weight. Like he was insulting. There was nothing funny behind it. Right. He had lost. And my friend and I looked at each other at one point and we're like, we went too far. We broke this guy. but man, was it entertaining. I wish I would have taped
great.
it. It was one of those moments where I'm like, man, we really dropped the ball. We should have recorded that.
That is so good. That's so great. Did you ever hear the story about how Florentine, when he met Dice, he was such a fan of that. You know that one album that Dice did that was like considered
The Day the Laughter Died.
right, The Day the Laughter Died, where he just went up and did all, like there was nobody liked it.
The Bible of comedy albums. If you're a comic out there starting out and you're bombing a lot and you're questioning whether or not you should do this and you hate it, go listen to those two albums because it is an art form. He not only does he bomb on both albums on purpose, but he wraps himself in it in a blanket and leans into it and makes gold out of it.
Yeah. And so Florentine meets Dice at a gig and, for the first time met him and told him how much he loved the album and started doing it to Dice. So Dice said, I'll tell you what, would you mind going up there and doing the bit and pretending it's yours? And Florentine went up and did like 5 minutes of The Day the Laughter Died and got the same reaction that Dice did, like the same exact thing. And that's how they became friends. Like he went up doing his material right in front of him.
So I'm at this wedding, right?
Right, exactly.
I'm at this wedding, and this guy comes over to me, and he's like, I hope you guys have a nice life.
He does.
Can you believe this fucking guy, right?
He was on Riotcast. He was on Riotcast, and he would send me the show to post, and I would always like add sound to it and everything. And like it was out of all the shows, it was the hardest one to just post, like because I wound up listening to it because he just reads people's Facebook posts. It's like, oh, somebody pray for me. Oh, it's
Friday. It's Friday. Yeah. Can't wait to go to Chili's.
Right, exactly.
Kill yourself.
Yeah, he did like 20 minutes on why pumpkin spice sucks, and it was one of the funniest fucking things I ever heard.
He's the best, man. Dice, my first time working with him, he basically asked me to bomb for him.
Oh, and you gladly did. I would have. Well,
yeah, I mean, listen, there was a tug of war there in my head because I'd like plugged this gig for like 3 months. I was so excited. It's one of my comedy heroes. And then it's like 3 minutes before the show starts, and they're like, Dice wants to see you. And I go and I meet him backstage, and he's like, you know what you should do? He's like, you should go out and be like, who is from Canada? And we're in Toronto. We're in Massey Hall in Toronto. Right. And I go, all right. And he goes, then be like, who's here to see Dice? And then be like, who loves hockey? And then he goes, and then when they're like going fucking nuts, he goes, talk about the song I'm going to come out to. And I'm like, I'm sorry, what?
What point am I doing my bit?
Yeah, and he's like, nah, the song I'm going to come out. My kids did the song. I'm 14, 11 years old. They're amazing. Talk about the song. And I'm like, for how long? And he goes, I don't know, like 3 minutes.
3.
And I'm like, and I just walk out. I'm like, okay. And now I don't know what to do. I'm like, and then I'm like, wait a minute. It's his show, number one.
Right.
Number two, I'm getting paid the Jew took over. I'm like, I'm getting paid the same either way, whether I do well or I bomb. And this guy's been to the mountain, back, mountain again.
Yeah.
He's still having fun doing this. Mm-hmm. Like that to me is everything because that's the only reason I started doing stand-up because I saw people having fun doing it and I wanted to do something fun for a living the rest of my life. And I said, fuck it. I'll go out there. I walk out. Who here's from Canada? Everybody. Everybody. Who loves hockey? Again, everyone. I go, who's here to see Dice? Obviously, everyone who bought a ticket that is sitting there is there to see Dice. And I go, well, let me tell you about the song he's coming out to. And the people just all stop and they're like, huh? What?
It was like his Flavor Flav.
And that's when I realized that I haven't even heard the song that I'm talking about. So I don't even know what. So I proceed to bomb for 2 minutes and 45 seconds. And I wrap up. I go, thank you guys. Enjoy Dice. Good night, Toronto. And I walk off stage and he's wiping tears from his eyes and he's going, you had him. You could have gone longer. You hadn't.
Yeah.
You could have stretched it out.
You could have brought up maple syrup.
Yeah.
Did you do any of your act? Or was it
The
just
next night in Montreal, I go, what do you want me to do? He goes, I don't know, do 25, do 30. And I go, on the song? He goes, no, stupid, do your act. And he sat on the side of the stage and watched my whole set.
That's
and was very
fantastic.
complimentary afterwards. And
You see him laughing?
you know, yeah, man, I couldn't believe he was over there, and it really skipped me up a little bit on stage. Like I stumbled
Sure.
a little bit after that because, fucking guy sold out MSG, man.
Yeah, I saw. You know, I saw him in West.
If you didn't do that for him the first night, you wouldn't have gotten that. So there you go. It
Yeah.
was meant to be, right?
It was a test, man. It's like at the end of the day, he wants to be around people who are having fun and who enjoy life. And how can you be upset? Because I had friends, comics, and be like, I'd have told him to go fuck himself. What do you think of that?
Yeah, okay.
I'd have told him to fuck right off.
He hasn't called me since. Hasn't called me
Like,
since.
yeah, whatever, dude. You would have done it, and if you did, if you would have, then, in my opinion, you're in the wrong business. Like that is comedy.
Right. Absolutely. And you know, you have to, and it's so competitive already that it's so rare. Like the chances of you opening for someone and them going, you have talent, I'm going to take you under my wing. Like that doesn't happen. Like most comics are just in their own world, you know.
Most comics hate other comics.
Well, that's because comics hate themselves.
Yeah, that's true.
Sandy Hackett once told me, if you want comics in the back of the room to laugh at you while you're on stage, light yourself on fire.
That's good.
But we're a special breed. I remember one of the open mic nights in Vegas. We were running it one night, and this guy showed up in a wheelchair. And he's like, I'm a comic. Can I do some time? We're like, yeah, but listen, we don't have a ramp. Like, we'll pick you up and put you on stage. He's like, I don't give a shit. And we pick him up. We introduce him. We pick him up. We put him on stage. We go to the back. It's me and my three buddies. And we're sitting back there, and the guy's bombing, right? He's not doing well. And that's when, and this is the definition of a comic. My buddy leads over to me, my buddy Potter, and he goes, if I was in a wheelchair, I'd be killing right now. It's like, as a comic, jealous that he's not handicapped
Right,
for
yes.
material purposes. That's insane.
Fucking people, man. So do you find yourself like getting still heckled? I mean, because I have a feeling you get something similar to. I saw Dave Chappelle. I saw him at Westbury Music Fair, and it was around the time that Chappelle Show's second season was going on. So I went to see him, and there were signs everywhere. Do not yell towards the stage or you will be thrown out.
Yeah.
And, you know, Chappelle in my eyes is without a doubt the top comic right now. Like, fucking phenomenal. And
Have you seen Bob Saget recently?
effortless. I haven't, but he's great. He is
Just throwing
great.
it out there.
Yeah, I will check it.
Everybody talks Chappelle. Nobody talks Saget.
He's really good too. He is, but I don't know. Chappelle's on another level. But anyway,
By the way, don't at me. That was a joke. All right, I'm not, I mean, Saget's great. Don't get me wrong, but yes, Chappelle's phenomenal.
so anyway, he comes out, and people started yelling shit from the show.
Yeah.
A couple of minutes in, and he did make a mistake because he acknowledged the first one. And I don't know, you know, maybe, and he said, come on, man, like he did it, and it kept going to the point where it ruined the show. Like, I got to see Dave Chappelle in a tiny little theater, and it was fucking ruined by everybody. Yeah. And he said it. He's like, come on, motherfuckers, I'm trying to do some kind of, he said, you know, people walk up to him and, you know, in Disneyland and say, I'm Rick James, bitch, and now I got to come here. And
it didn't help the show when the guy was yelling Ashy Larry 37 times.
Exactly. So I mean, do you get that shit when you, like, do you get the Stern crew yelling stuff like that?
Yeah. You hit it right on the head. It's not a malicious thing. Like,
Right.
they're excited. You know, the Stern Show at the end of the day, in my opinion, was the first, like, true reality show.
Agreed.
Where people got to know this guy working on the radio and angry with his management and angry about life and shared these things, you know, fights with his staff. And it was an insight to something that everybody could relate to, but nobody talked about. Definitely nobody documented it, right? So people feel a part of this, that this is a family,
Yep.
you know? And so, and you you like for me, I realized when I got there, like just how hard it is to be honest on the air because of how many people are listening and how they remember everything, you know. And it's like
Yeah.
I'll go to a show and people will be, and I tell them, I say to them, listen, I'm a super fan just like you. When the show's over, let's all yell shit out together. You know, let me work this shit out, and then so it there are times where I'm like, I wish somebody would yell "you suck" just so we can do this dance, and I can flex my heckling muscle.
Right.
But at the end of the day, they're looking to be acknowledged, and yes, you can. I've found a way where I can answer it, but also tell them to shut the fuck up at the same time without being a dick. But if you have to, you have to, because, and then here's the thing, you just turn the crowd onto them. It's like Twitter. If somebody says something shitty about you and you got a fan base, you just retweet and go, can you believe this guy? Or, here's a big fan of mine. And then these people now fight your battle for you. You don't even have to get your hands dirty.
Yeah,
So
that's true. Good point.
you're on stage and the person wants you up and you go, hey buddy, listen, the rest of these people paid money to see a show. They didn't pay to hear you yet. And then they all turn on them. That's when security gets involved. And so, listen to the Jews. I don't want to get my hands dirty. Right, Rob? Look at that schnoz.
That's right. But you are also, and this is going to sound like an ass kiss, but I really do believe this, that for all of these years that there have been people who were on that show and decided to go comic, right? I think you're a true comedian. Like I don't see you as Shuli from the Stern Show anymore. I don't. I see you as a comic. Like,
can you do this again? I wasn't recording.
It's
Can you do that one more time?
But
No, I was doing it before I got here. Like, this was my plan before radio, and I was lucky enough that the New York Yankees of radio decided to take a chance on me, having never swung a bat before in my life. And but my plan was, when I came out here for a 1-week audition, was when they get rid of me in a week, me and my boys are going to stay out here and do stand-up, right? Mm-hmm. That was the plan once we got out of Vegas. So for me, it was my plan A. This coming out here and doing a week audition was like, yeah, this will be cool. Maybe I can network something out of this. Mm-hmm. But I have zero radio experience. Why would these people hire me? So it was a gift, man, and it put me in a position to perform in places that I would have never been able to perform at, with people I've never been able to perform with, and a real crash course into combat comedy, because those early tours were just vile. I'll tell you, the Electric Factory in Philly, right?
Yeah,
You're
sure.
familiar with that venue.
Yep.
Great for death metal, not so much for comedy. And we were doing a big group show. It was a ton of Florentine, DePaulo, Artie, all of us. And literally, you just walked out to get booed for 10 minutes, right? And I remember DePaulo's closing line was, "I hope you all fucking die. Good night." Right?
That sounds like him.
And I come out on stage, and I haven't even touched the mic yet, right? I haven't even done that yet. And it's literally the first 400 people that I see on the bottom are just screaming bloody murder at me.
Why go to a show to do?
Wait, listen to this. There's one voice, which us as performers know this. We'll spot that one person, right? And this one voice is just cutting through everyone. And it's a woman in the second row in a wheelchair. Like, first of all, if that doesn't give you a glimpse into what assholes Philly are,
right?
They don't even give them the front row, right? She's in the second. Dude's like, I got here first. Put your brake off and back up, right? And her voice, and I don't know this woman. She doesn't know me, but she's screaming and looking at me and just going, "You fucking suck. I hope you fucking die."
What kind of fucking show is that? Like, why go to a show that you're just gonna tell everybody to die?
I'm like, right, and I'm like, I didn't know what to do, so I got down to, I went down on my knees so I'd be eye level with her because she was sitting down, and I go into the mic, I go, now I know why your spine is broken. I go, because you're a fucking cunt. And no lie, 95% of the venue went, all right, you guys got something good to say.
That's really material.
Yeah, that's probably. It's a good thing you didn't go. Next time I see somebody in a wheelchair, I'm gonna do that line again.
Do you realize how many wheelchairs Shuli has in his
I know your whole life has been
They haunt me. They haunt me my whole life.
Maybe you know what? Maybe you pushed her once at an airport, and she just came back to get revenge.
You know what? Maybe she was the one that shit her pants, and I didn't help her change.
Maybe
And that's why. And then you know what? If that's the case, then I'm sorry. That was my bad.
But I can't let you go without talking about this for a minute too, because you, in addition to all of that, you somehow wind up working with the great Jay Thomas on top of that.
Ah, yes. Wonderful Jay Thomas. Man.
And I don't. How did he just call you in one day and you just kind of sat because you were walking around because then you just became a staple. Like he felt comfortable and kept bringing you in.
It was kind of a two-part thing. He saw me do a spot one night at Caroline's. I had a spot there one night, and he happened to be there. And we had met a couple times up at Sirius, and I was a big fan of Jay, not only from TV, but I used to live in L.A. Well, I went to high school in L.A. and junior high. So I used to listen to him on the radio before Howard got there on Power 106.
Oh, wow.
And, so I was familiar with Jay. And I was always a big fan of his comedy, and I hadn't listened to his talk format on radio, so I didn't know what he was up to or how he was doing with that. He met me at Caroline's. He came up to me after my set, told me how funny. He said, "Hey man, if you ever want to stop by the show, stop by." And at that time, when I was working up at Sirius, I was just trying to absorb as much knowledge on radio and airtime to get better as possible. So I took him up on like a week later. I came down to his studio, and he goes, "Listen, my guy who usually does the ha-ha chair," which was what he called his like co-host position, he said he's leaving. Would you want to sit in one day this week? And I was like, "Yeah, sure." And I never expected that would turn into me working with this, like. In my opinion, Jay is just as brilliant as Howard. They just did two completely different shows.
Yeah.
And to learn what I learned from both these guys, like if I had to go sell insurance for the rest of my life after today, I'd be cool with it just off of working with that dude and seeing how he turned nothing into something like radio content every day, and he was so fucking funny. He has maybe my favorite comedy club story of all time, which we were stoned one night and he shared it with me, and I almost had to call an ambulance because I couldn't breathe.
You got to share it now.
So Jay Thomas started on Mork and Mindy with Robin Williams, and both were also doing stand-up. Jay on a much smaller scale than Robin, obviously,
Right.
But they had apparently had a falling out over cocaine back in the day, and they were not on good terms. And so Jay is at the Improv in the audience, sitting towards the back, while Robin's on stage performing, and Jay's waiting to go up later. And Robin's, zooted out of his head, and he's doing 35, 40 minutes, and he's crushing. And in the middle of this sweat pouring down set, he just stops and he looks out in the crowd and he goes, "Who's that? Is that Jay out there?" And Jay's sitting at the table, and he's like, "What the fuck is this?" And Robin goes, "Guys, I've worked with Jay. I've known Jay. I think Jay's one of the funniest people out there today." Jay's sitting there going, "What the fuck is going on?" Robin goes, "Would you guys like to see Jay come up on stage, do some time, huh? Would you guys like that?" Jay's just shocked, and the crowd starts clapping. They're going nuts. So Jay Thomas stands up, and when he stands up, a hand goes on the back of his shoulder, and it's Jay Leno, who was behind him, who Robin was talking about the entire time.
Oh, fuck. Oh, that sucks.
And he says to me, I went from having the greatest moment of my life to being the first asshole to lead a standing ovation for Jay Leno, because he's the only one standing up.
Oh, shit. Did you ever hear Bobby Kelly's Seinfeld story?
Oh my God, I
It's
love
very
that story.
very similar. Yeah,
I love that story.
Yeah,
And Jay was just notorious for putting his foot in his mouth and
that
you know,
sucks.
just really screwing himself out of any. He's like a Larry David. I used to tell him all the time.
Yeah.
He told me a story once about. He used to call them the audit. You know those like conventions, the like Chiller Con or whatever. He used to call them has-been conventions because only has-been. He said he went to one and he's next to Rutger Hauer, and Rutger Hauer's like, "Listen, Thomas, you better bring your own change because I'm not making change for you, and I don't have Sharpies." Like,
yeah, that's got to be tough doing those signings, man. You know, especially the wrestlers. Like that was a big thing in the movie, The Wrestler. I bet that's probably what it's like to be a wrestler. The movie with Mickey Rourke just fucking sucks.
Very similar to I know a lot of people in the industry. I'm a wrestling fan. I know some wrestlers. It's eerily similar to stand up.
Yeah, in a lot of ways, it's true.
You're on the road way too much. You're partying way too much. You're making bad decisions. You're treating your body poorly, and you start out playing for fucking 20 people, making garbage money.
Yeah,
you know. Until somebody, one of the bigwigs hire you and make your gimmick a slow adult Jewish lawyer or some shit. You know?
Yeah, you milk it as long as you can too.
Yeah.
But before you go, a couple of things I just want to touch on for everyone. We have a new site, thewholepodcast.com, a brand new website. We finally have merchandise. I'm actually rocking a whole shirt right here. We have a bunch of other stuff on there. I encourage you guys to check it out. And we have a big guest Monday night, not as big as Shuli, of course, but Monday night, 10 p.m. Eastern Time, Tom Arnold will be joining us. So I'm very excited about that as well. I'm sure we're going to hear plenty of stuff about Roseanne and everything else.
Get ready for a much faster speed show.
Right, exactly. We're going to have very, very, very true. But Shuli, can't thank you enough. I want everyone to go check them out.
Judd Apatow to make pushers.
Hey, man, I would love to see some. I'm also working on a couple other things, but pushers would be phenomenal. The stories that I had from pushing wheelchairs. You know, people wouldn't believe it if they. And actually, ironically, you brought up Jay, but Jay was one of the first people to tell me I need to make that into a TV show. He says, people have no. I used to tell him the stories. He goes, people got to hear these stories. They have no idea.
No, I know it.
No, I appreciate it, and thank you guys for. I mean this from the bottom of my heart, Rob. I thought you were booking me for Bobby Kelly, so the fact that I stuck around really shows.
Yeah, it's
what a
very,
good guy I am.
very impressive. Well, surely this concludes our social interactions. So,
touche, my friend, touche. I'll see you at Temple.
Yeah, you got it. But once again, everybody follow Shuli Egar. Shuli, what's your website?
ShalomShuli.com, Shalom Shuli on Twitter, Instagram, and Shulogy is the album. It's like eulogy, but with Shul in front of it, and Sober and Wasted Version. It's a double album. I think they just played it on Raw Dog this past week. They played
Awesome.
both albums. So, yeah, check it out, and look for me when, you know, I'll be on my We Got a Vaccine tour, hopefully, in the next 5 or 6 years.
All right, hang out one more second. I'm just going to play a quick outro, and now you're going to get your chance to do it. Thank you for listening to The Whole. I am Rob Sprance.
Courtney Love.
I'm Lori Levine.
I'm Shuli Egar.
Later, motherfuckers.
Welcome to the Glory Hole.